Hello, it is The Late Challenge. It is episode 74 of The Late Challenge, and that will be swiftly followed by episode 62 of The Subscriber Show. And that means by the end of today, if you wanted, you could sit there for 5.5 days solid and just watch The Late Challenge. So let us know if you do. On this week's show, we're going to do some football. We're going to do the Reds. We're going to do a bit of England. We might do a bit of election stuff. We're looking to do a bit of life, a bit of mental health, all of that kind of stuff. That latter stuff will probably spill over into the subscriber show. So if you want to do that, jump on the Patreon, sign up and get involved. Okay, going to start with the Reds. Going to start with some Liverpool chat. And there have been credible links and credible reporting around Anthony Gordon. Newcastle United tried to sell 3 players over the past week, and among them were the England winger. This was amid fears they could face a points deduction for breaching the Premier League's financial rules. Even before this, Liverpool were linked to Gordon anyway, and there are still reports out there now that they remain interested, although they're not interested in the price that Newcastle are asking for and whatever that may be. The reporting also suggested that Liverpool may not be interested because they've got Diaz, Jota and Gakpo all capable of playing in his position. Although, of course, it wasn't too long ago that Diaz was, or certainly Diaz's family or Diaz's agent or whoever it was, it felt like there was some fanning of the arse going on, shall we say. There was like feelers going out. His dad was saying things. PSG were linked on the regular. So maybe there's stuff to be done onto the Euros and Copa America and everything else are out the way. Just before we get into some of the details around it, what are your initial thoughts about that link? Do you fancy him as a player? Do you like him as a lad? Do you think he'd fit in at Liverpool? What you reckon?
Yes, almost like 100% yes to all of those questions. I think, and it's funny because we mentioned Diaz, didn't we, last year? Like starting to do the, hang on a minute, like runs around a lot and that, and is boss, and I like him and everything. But numbers and stuff for that position. And you compare that to Gordon, I just think, considering his age, his attitude, like that, I didn't even end up watching the whole interview he did with Gary Neville, but he shocked me, and I only watched it anyway because I had no interest in him. Do you know what I mean? As far as I was, this is all a shock to me that he was a Liverpool fan, and he was on Liverpool's books and stuff. I knew none of that. I just assumed he was a Bluenose. So I only watched a bit of the interview anyway because I saw Neville talking about him, saying he was blown away by him. And I think we touched on this a while ago, didn't we? But when you hear someone like Gary Neville interview a young player and you could see he was visibly like impressed by him, that's, for me, that's a take a step back moment, you know what I mean? Because think of who Gary Neville has played alongside in his career and seen up close and worked with. For him to be saying about someone, it's impressive, That's worth like having a look at. And now I found out he's a Liverpool fan and was on our books till he was 11 and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I'd get him back. And the whole thing about, we've got Diaz, Jota and Gakpo for that position. Well, none of them in that. I love Jota and Gakpo. I love Jota. I like Gakpo very much, and I really like Diaz. But I think he's an upgrade on all of those players in that position for what he does, for what he contributes. I mean, we're going to come on to the England thing later, aren't we? But it's madness for me that he hasn't had more minutes for England in this tournament. So yeah, I definitely have him, subject to price and all that. What about you?
Yeah, a lot of similar thoughts. I mean, I've got to say, first of all, he's talking about Gary Neville again, Bob. All of that boyhood red. He said that Gerrard was his hero, didn't he, in the Gary Neville thing. There's also stuff out there about him being mates with Curtis Jones, close to Trent and Joe Gomez through the England setup and things like that. So it feels like there's loads of stuff like that where you kind of feel like, yeah, he wouldn't need some kind of big bedding period or anything. You could just buy him and he'd be sound. He's been playing in the Premier League. What I like about him, and it's a bit similar to what you were touching on, I like sort of, once you're being linked with him, you take a bit more attention, pay a bit more attention to him, don't you? And I heard a 5 Live Football Daily podcast that he was on, and he came across really well. And he was, he's big into reading, and he said like he's into reading like self-improvement books and all this kind of stuff. He was talking about like visualizing success, and he'd got his missus to order some other book because he'd heard Ronaldo had read it, and he was like, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me, type of thing. And I like all that. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't just seem to be like a lad who's turning up, playing, and going home again, and not really arsed. He seems really motivated, really driven, and some of this link has gone on for that long almost that you think, well, it's got to be coming from somewhere. Like, the reports, if you read all of the reports, they're not saying Liverpool aren't interested, and they're not saying he's not interested in Liverpool. So that you've got, it appears that those two things are actually there. Liverpool are interested. He's interested in Liverpool. And then it's just whether Liverpool can do a deal with Newcastle. Obviously, there was some mention of Kwanzaa being involved, which has been dismissed. I think rightfully so. I wouldn't want that to happen. We saw Kwanzaa last season. He did really well. He made some mistakes, but then he very quickly got over them, which was almost the most impressive thing. You know what I mean? It's really high profile. The one at Old Trafford, for example, didn't seem to faze him, did it? And he bounced straight back from it. And you're like, yeah, we don't want to be losing him. He's not a player that we want to be.
Not when I just had a little look then at how old Diaz is, because age profile is a big thing for us, isn't it? And as it is for all football clubs. But before going back to Gordon and Diaz, Kwanzaa's age profile for that position, for him to be that good at that age, is just off the charts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because I think if you're looking at long-term planning for a football club, which is what we're doing now, and we have been for a while, which is just, it amazes me how few clubs do what we do when that's clearly the way forward. Long-term planning, Kwanzaa could save you a couple of £100 million on centre-backs, because how old is he? 21?
Yeah.
So you could have easily 15 years from him as a Liverpool first choice centre back. That's a big deal.
Yeah,
because and he could go beyond that. By the time the next 10 years are gone, centre backs could easily be playing till they're 40. So you could get 20 years out of him, which is just off the charts. You don't want to be giving that up.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see what happens with that. I mean, some of the stuff that he said as well, in that overlap interview with Neville, he said, my confidence comes from my preparation. Some footballers like to think less, turn up and play and trust their instincts. I love the mindset of getting myself in that place before I'm already there. I saw Mo Salah talk about it. That's where I took even more interest, because I see him as an absolute machine and a winner. People like that. You're not going to go too far wrong following what they do. He's also previously said, there was actually someone had written a piece on a sort of, quietly, well, not quietly, I mentioned on here, but I buzzed off it because it was like, here's all the times that Gordon said something that's wound up Evertonians, basically. So he's mentioned Gerrard, he's mentioned Mo Salah. He got asked in a totally different interview by Channel 4. He got asked about his favourite atmosphere in the Premier League. See where this is going, can't you? Other than St James's Park, it's Anfield by far. Maybe it's because I'm from the city and grew up watching it, but I just think before the game when they sing You'll Never Walk Alone, it's top level. I mean, again, if I'm saying Diaz and Diaz's camper doing some arse fanning in the direction of whoever PSG, then I definitely getting the same impression about Gordon to Liverpool.
Well, do you know what? It only just occurred to me. Like, I was surprised when he clearly wanted to get out of Everton to progress his career. And when I saw a bit of that interview with Neville, it was clear he's one of those players, a bit like a Jude Bellingham and an Mbappe, who's got a very clear idea of where he wants to go with his career, and there will be nothing getting in his way. That's the mindset I think he's got. And now that we're seeing this happening, I wonder if he was like, because now I know he was a Liverpoolian growing up, I wonder if he was like, I need to get out of Everton as quick as I can, because there could be a place in my career for me to go to Liverpool, and I can't go from Everton to Liverpool, so I've got to go somewhere else first, and then get myself in a position where I can play for my boyhood club. which would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So the arse fanning, as you're calling it, which I really like, is it makes
That's what
makes
Steve
a lot of
McMahon
sense.
did, isn't it? Like he was linked to Liverpool when he was at Everton, wasn't he? And I think I'm right in saying that didn't go down very well. And then did we eventually get him from Aston Villa?
Aston Villa's in my head is where he came from. Yeah.
I might, maybe wrong. I'm just
asking me about stuff like in the past.
I know,
beyond my memory.
and I'm not good at it either. I don't know why I went there.
But as soon as you started saying, I was like, "What are you doing here, mate?
I know.
This is not going to end well for
He's
us." There will already be people shouting at us on the internet saying, "How can you not know where Steve McMahon came from?"
Just because I've got a bad memory, mate. Who's asked? But it's been a thing in the past, and yeah, it's probably a thing now. You're right.
But yeah, overall, if let's say someone said to me now, and I'm surprised Diaz is only 27, so this is not me saying we should dump Diaz for no reason. But if someone said to me you could swap Diaz for him, I'd take that deal.
And we'll see, won't we? I mean, it does kind of feel like everything, not just Liverpool-wise, just in general, in terms of domestic footy, it just feel like it's all on hold, doesn't it? You know what I mean? I seen a piece this morning from James Pearce, and it was sort of, I think the headline was along the lines of, why is it so quiet at Liverpool? And I thought, I wonder if James wrote this or it was a bit of an arm up the back. Write something on Liverpool, lad. Not much going on here. And he's like, well, Euros and the Copa America, lad. Write it anyway.
Yeah. Get the clicks.
The interesting thing in his piece, I think, was he mentioned a link to... He said no incomings and the only outgoing so far is Calvin Ramsey on a season-long loan to Wigan. He mentioned, obviously... There've been various links. He said the only link with real substance is a Lille centre-back, Lenny Yoro. Probably completely got that wrong, but, Liverpool's interest is strong, but competition is fierce, and they expect Real Madrid to win the race for his signature. I mean, we probably do a future show where we can properly sit down and sort of look at the squad and all that and say what we want, but I mean, I'm not concerned. Are you that... Not much has gone on. I think not much has gone on full stop, has it? So it's one of them, we'll be all right.
Yeah, I think this is something footy fans are terrible at doing, including us sometimes, is you focus so much on your own club that you forget to just take a step back and look at what everyone else is doing. And you're like, is that no one else is the only people doing any deal? And it was dead
PSR,
funny watching it.
The PSR crew.
Oh, literally that. Like, oh, and as soon as there's a 30th of June deadline in the account, you're like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
Why are there so many weird deals getting done dead quick? Like, really at short notice between clubs with mad players that you're like, with mad numbers, and all of a sudden you're like, someone writes an article and you're like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it was very, very nothing to see here, shall we say? Shall we put it that way?
Yeah, but you know what? It's something else it shows you in the Gordon thing as well. Club executives play, and I bet you the likes of Eddie Howe must be really annoying, because he's probably just off watching the Euros, planning pre-season, thinking about his squad for the future, and the executives at the club are like, right, we need to get some money in so we don't get done here. Let's start offering players around, and Gordon's name comes up, and you're like, well, okay, there was already interest, but just by that conversation happening, makes it more likely they won't keep him as a player. And if you're Eddie Howe, you'd be like, for fuck's sake, could we not do this?
I know. Another little thing just to mention, obviously a player discussed a lot on this show over, the last however many months. Darwin Nunez has been scoring for Uruguay. He's scored 7 in a row, I think it is. And if he scores another one, he will have set a new record. He's already matched one for his country that was set 96 years ago. So he scored a couple of goals. He scored 2 in the Copa America so far. There was lots of sort of praise knocking around. I don't know if you've seen the goals. I watched both of the goals. Like I didn't watch the matches, but they were both goals that you sort of would. Well, I say you would expect them to score, but with Nunez, I think that's part of the problem, isn't it? But they weren't like wow or anything, either of them. They were just in the box goals. I'm glad he scored and I'm glad his confidence is up, that kind of thing. I did notice in one report I read it said that the Uruguayan media had acknowledged that the striker missed some more situations, and I thought, yeah, that kind of sounds like him. Looking around and about what people are doing content-wise at the moment, there's lots of what next for Darwin Nunez. So what next for Darwin Nunez? I mean, We talked about him on here before, haven't we? I think there's lots of ways it could go, but it seems unlikely that a new manager comes in Arne Slot and he just straight away goes, right, I'm flogging you.
Bin him.
Although, you know, like I did read, I think it was in Pierce's piece, he said like he's been watching lots of videos and watching, you know, loads of games on, you know, that Liverpool played last season. Slot to like get an idea of everyone. But they're only just now starting to report back, or the ones who aren't away, for like pre-season testing and all this kind of stuff. You would think he wants to see everyone in the flesh, everyone playing, see what the personalities are like and make his own mind up, wouldn't you? You'd think. I can't see it. I can't see a world when, you know, Nunez is not playing for Liverpool come August.
I'd be really surprised, and especially because, again, this is a weird footy fan thing, isn't it? It goes back to the thing Klopp used to bang on about we all just want to buy new players. Imagine if we didn't have Darwin Nunez in our squad and he was getting linked with us now. Like Uruguay centre forward, who's got all these stats you've put in here. He's had at least 10 more touches inside the opposition box than any other player at the Copa America. No one's completed more dribbles than him at the Copa America. He scored, is it 10 in his last 7 games for them? Like if that was, and he scored in 7 consecutive games, like you've already said, playing for Bielsa. Like if we were getting linked with that player now, Liverpool fans on the internet would be creaming themselves, wouldn't they? Like, look at this lad. Imagine the highlights reels of him. Everyone going off the cake. Oh my God, look at this player we're going to get.
There is this structure thing now as well, isn't there? I guess, you know, so I've just said, and someone's mentioned in the comments there, you know, so we have had it very clearly made out to us that he is head coach. And, you know, and like even that piece James wrote today, again, it had the picture of the structure in and all that. So there could be a world where, you know, the number crunchers, if you like, for want of a better phrase, have gone no. Do you know what I mean?
It depends what you mean by number crunchers, because there's two levels of number crunchers all tied in together, aren't there? There's the stats number crunchers, like how is he performing numbers wise, and then there's the financial number crunching, which all is in all partly the same team. But I think even if the stats number crunchers went, we're not convinced, you know. I think we mentioned this a few months ago, I think the financial number crunchers would be like, well, we're going to have to give this coach time to get him up to speed then, because
there's 85 million quid invested in him.
And we're not going to get that 85 million back if we sell him now. Yeah. So it's not a deal we can do. That would be a stupid deal to do. So let this coach try and get him scoring goals at the rate we think he can. And if he can't, we'll sell him in a year.
Yeah, 96 games for Liverpool so far for Nunez, 33 goals, 17 assists. He's basically sort of 1 in 3, isn't he, in terms of goal scoring. In terms of last season, he got 18 goals, all comps, 13 assists. The season before, it was 15 goals, 5 assists. But then when you look at his last season for Benfica, okay, different country, different league, all of those things. But, you know, that was sort of what took Liverpool's interest, isn't it? And obviously his performances against Liverpool. 32 goals in his last season for Benfica. So that's the level I'd imagine that they're looking to get out of him, isn't it?
Yeah, but and he's trending in the right direction towards that. Yeah. And I don't think we mentioned this, did we? But I remember when we signed him, I was on an Anfield rap show, and I said the people who've signed him behind the scenes at Liverpool, clearly, like there was, because we signed him at the same time as City bought Haaland, didn't we? And there was the comparisons, and anyone with a half a brain was like, well, he's clearly not at Haaland's level, but Liverpool's team is backing their ability to coach him to that level, which is that's what our thing is. We buy players and we coach them to be as good as they can be, which gets the value out of them. And that he's trending in the right direction. Joe, first season, 15 goals, 5 assists. Second season, 18 goals, 13 assists. I remember we compared his stats to Diaz's last year, and he was getting loads of shit and Diaz is getting loads of praise. And his stats are way better than Diaz's for output. It's just that thing of, well, when you see with your own eyes and he pisses you off, because it's not just the numbers. He's missing a sitter in the derby. Yeah. And that miss means you lose the derby and you're out of the title race. So on emotion, you're like, this is awful. Yeah. But actually, the stats guys behind the scenes be like, "We'll take emotion out of it. He's good."
Yeah, I mean, I know, and that's what they're there for, and that is their sort of raison d'etre to do that, isn't it? Basically, but you know, when you said that, I was getting flashbacks of like fellas near me in Goodison Park when he missed said chance and like booting the seats and like fuck off, I've had enough of you, lad, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah,
but that's the problem, isn't it? We don't watch footy in stats.
I know.
We watch footy through the eyes of emotion. And
he's got there's a bit of he reminds me a little bit of like when we signed Heskey, and it was like, you know, like the rough diamond that we were going to make even better. And I've talked about it before, obviously talking about Liverpool for years, but I always think Heskey was a lot better than he was given credit for. And you know, it used to really piss me off all that. If Heskey can play for England, so can I. No, mate, like, he's a professional footballer who's scoring at the top level, and you're a fat twat who can't fasten your shirt. So, you know, you can't play for England, mate. It's a crap song. And, like, you know, Michael Owen used to say, didn't he? He was like, you know, his favourite person to play with and all that kind of stuff. And I just pulled his stats up there, like 2000, 2001, 22 goals. Like, not to be sniffed at. 40 in the season after, 9 after that, 12 after that. And obviously, you know, he ended up like going out on the wing, didn't he, and all that kind of stuff. And there was a bit of a thing with him where he, like, when he was on fire, he was unbelievable. You saw sometimes where his confidence would go, didn't you? And, you know, you'd remember him like sort of going through one-on-one at times, and you'd be like, yeah, I know he's not going to score this because he's not in the right place mentally. Like, do you know what I mean? He was one of them type of players, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But definitely better than he was given credit for, I'd say.
He's a good comparison, but also at a different end of the spectrum is Stan Collymore. And I think Darwin Nunez is at a tipping point in his, not just for us, but probably in his career, in that there's players like Heskey and Collymore who you watch in certain games. And maybe this is why they become so frustrating, actually. Because you watch them in certain games and you're like, yeah, they are world class. Like, it's mad that the Heskey game I always remember, which is strange considering what we'll come on to in the way we think of them now, was an England game. England played Italy, and he was up against Cannavaro and Nesta, who, like, we used to come up against them for Liverpool in the Champions League at the time. And I remember being like, those two defenders are just unbelievable. I grew up as playing as a fullback, so I loved Paolo Maldini growing up. I just thought he was just off the charts as a player, and Cannavaro and Nesta in that category for me. And Heskey bullied the two of them for 90 minutes for England, just battered them. It was one of those games where you see little glimpses of them looking at each other like, we don't even know how to handle this player. He's too good. He's too powerful. He's too fast. We can't stop him. And when you could see that that's something he could do, and then you would see the other performances he'd give, that's when you're like, but lad, it's not good enough. And we've seen this time and again, at the top level, you need lads who will consistently deliver you 7 and 8 out of 10. Not someone who'll give you a 10 out of 10 one week and a 2 out of 10 the next week. And that was Collymore, that was Heskey, and that's the difference between... Klopp said this once about us playing like Derby or someone in the cup. He went, the difference between their players and our players isn't necessarily skill in a one-off game. It's consistency. Can you deliver the best quality at the highest level week after week after week?
And that's the problem with him, isn't it?
You can't stay. And I think this is his... I think we'd all accept that, wouldn't we? If he is here at the start of the season, it's his season to prove himself, or he will be moving on after that.
It's weird, isn't it? Because we've mentioned this before as well, but like when I went up to Newcastle for that game, and unbelievable comeback and all the rest of it, and he comes off the bench and scores 2 goals. It was around the time where they'd said like they've been working with him on his finishing, and then he comes on and they're like 2 cool, great finishes, aren't they? And you're like, hello, here we go. And then he like regressed and was doing mad things again, wasn't he? I mean, I remember I think it's stuff we've talked about before. Yeah, I remember Owen doing some analysis on him, saying, all right, yeah, that's gone in, but it's a mad choice. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not sustainable what he's doing.
Yeah, it was good. When you look back, that was amazing analysis, wasn't it? From someone who, we keep saying this, or I keep saying it, someone, I don't listen to him on loads of things, but when he's talking about like centre forward scoring goals, I'll listen to Michael Owen's analysis, because it's usually spot on and very insightful. And that reaction, for him to say it at the time as well, when everyone else was going, oh, it's amazing, for him to stop and go, Nah.
Yeah.
Like, this is,
And
it's mad.
Sturridge as well, wasn't it? I think as well. He said sort of like, you know, you don't see with him like, oh, that's a Nunez goal type of thing. And again, you can see that as well, can't you? You're like, there are situations where, despite him being a player who does score a lot of goals, there are situations that seem to arrive where he's a bit like, I don't know what I'm doing here. And you're like, how can you have scored so many goals and been in this situation so many times, and seemingly your only thing is, I'm going to snatch at this, I'm going to just swat it as hard as I can.
Well, this is the funny thing. You know, when you mentioned the Copa America goals, I only saw one of them the other day on Twitter, and it was like, he went through one-on-one, and I'm watching it thinking, oh, I wonder what he does. Does he slot it? And he just towed it straight at the keeper, and the keeper moved out the way. And there is always that thing, Joe, like when you look at the Benfica goals and things like that, I've seen this in the past. When you're not playing against, even if it's just the goalies, if the goalie isn't of the same level you're going to play against in the Premier League, I'll watch show reels sometimes of strikers and go, well, like say they've, you know, it's in the Dutch league and it shows they scored 30 goals.
I knew you were going to say the Dutch league.
But you know, because Joe popped into my head, Dirk Kuyt.
Yeah.
Because I remember watching him and he's like stats through the roof. Yeah.
I remember all that.
And if you go back and watch his goals in the Dutch league, loads of them were that. And if you just, whenever you watch a show reel of a player we're linked with, if you just watch it through this lens, right, it really helps. Just think, would a Premier League goalie save that shot? And a lot of the time, the answer is yes. So what you can do straight away is go, well, his finishing is probably 50% of what we're seeing in that league then. And that's the only downside with the Uruguay stats and the Benfica stats and all that. It's like, yeah, well, if he'd have towed it like that against Jordan Pickford, as much as I think Pickford's a weirdo, Pickford would have just saved it.
It's probably something, like, you can imagine this conversation almost being one that they might have had about him, do you know what I mean? And allegedly, so the story goes, we'll never know, probably until people start writing books. It was meant to have been Klopp that really pushed for him, isn't it? And I guess his argument would be, yeah, well, I get what you're saying, but he's done it against us. He was a nightmare to us, to our defenders who we coached. They couldn't deal with him.
And we had Alisson in goal.
Yeah. And so we've got something there we can work with. So let's pay the money. Let's get him in and you know, and off we go type of thing. That's where it's interesting for me as well. I know people are saying, you know, structurally it might have already been agreed one way or another. We're doing this or we're doing that. But equally, that's what I'm really like intrigued to find out about Slot. And we won't sort of know, will we, until, you know, he's been in the job for a while. Like, has he got that sort of magical touch of, you know, a player comes in and he's all right, but then once he's been through the slot machine, he's boss.
Aye.
Do you know what I mean? Get in! But do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And like, you know, loads of people took umbrage at me suggesting that his interview wasn't the best interview in the world. Sound. But you know, whatever he's done before, whatever he's said before, whatever footy club he's managed before, he's got to deal with what you've just said as well. So yeah, he's done that with Feyenoord. Well, okay, but this isn't Feyenoord though.
Yeah.
This is the Premier League now. This is a different level. So can he make the difference at this level?
Well, I mean, it's interesting because there'll be a bit of a theme here. We're going to want to talk about England, and it's one of my things. I'm like, stop whining, fellas. Stop whining. Playing for England is shit because the pressure on your back. Shut the fuck up. Do you know what I mean?
I know, we are going to come on to that.
Managing Liverpool, managing Man United, managing Arsenal, guess what? There's well more pressure, and not just managing, playing for them. There's well more pressure than you've ever experienced in your life. Why? Because very few people give a fuck about Feyenoord.
In the grand scheme.
Yeah. In the grand, and look, that's no offence to Feyenoord and their fans. Like
every respect.
Yeah. With the greatest respect to all of our people watching who imagine if that all it'll take is the algorithm to push us to Feyenoord fans and there'll be a pile
little crew outside next Monday.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. The ultras. I'm sure they're great. But at the end of the day, every single thing that you do for Feyenoord is not being like crawled over by an army of people with a fine-tooth comb as it is for Liverpool. Like, I mean, look at even last week. I'm sure when he became the manager of Feyenoord, there weren't podcasts and newspapers and journalists and people all around the world commenting on his first interview. And what did he say and how did he say it? And how did he deliver his message to the fans at the end? And should the podcasts have said that? And should the journalists have said that? And you've been too harsh. And that's a stupid thing to... You're like, it's already started, mate,
Yeah.
and we're part of it. This is what being in Liverpool is like. Like, that's just the way it is.
Being Liverpool.
Yeah. But look, one thing I want to say is, if I was Slot and you're sitting watching all those videos, because if you come into a new job anywhere, I'm experiencing this now. You come into a new job anywhere, new position anywhere, you've experienced it recently. You want to make an impression. You want to show them what you can do. If I'm Slot watching those videos, I'm like, well, I've got an easy win here, haven't I? Because if I can coach him or get my coaches working with him, and even increase his finishing rate by 50% by getting him just slotting the ball instead of twatting it as hard as he can. And that's what I can show, like literally show the fans that I've done that. Well, I've got a quick win straight away, haven't I? Because the fans will go then, hey, Klopp couldn't do that. And I know we loved Klopp and he had all the quotes and all that. But this lad, he's got Darwin Nunez scoring regularly. Well, day one of training with him, I'm like, mate.
Someone will do, won't they? Like you know, a newspaper, a website, whatever. Someone somewhere will do like a, you know, you can imagine picking a paper up and it slots to-do list, won't there? With little ticks on a chalkboard, and I'll have that on it. Get Nunez scoring 30 a season or whatever it is. Anyway, going to move on from the Reds to a bit of sort of general football, if you like. Just something that I spotted, and I thought it might be just funny to buzz off. Something Dwight Yorke has been saying, and my first question is, what has Dwight Yorke been smoking? So this was on Mirror Football, and it said Dwight Yorke tells Manchester United to pounce. And
that needs to go on our list, doesn't it?
Yeah, pounce. He wants Manchester United to pounce, like hide in the streets of Anfield and jump out
who in the new Ineos team leading United would be the pouncer?
Yeah, I don't know.
I think Jim Ratcliffe looks a bit like he's a bit too frail for pouncing to me. Would it be Dave Brailsford?
Pounce. But yeah, he wants them to pounce for Trent Alexander-Arnold.
I like they even put pounce in inverted commas.
Yeah.
Like he actually said pounce.
Yeah. No, he said pounce. This could be an opportunity where if Liverpool don't perform under Arne Slot and Alexander-Arnold becomes unhappy, Manchester United should do everything they can to sign him. Obviously, there's history between the clubs, and Alexander-Arnold will know that as an Englishman, but it can be an opportunity to look out for. I'm not being funny. In every possible way, this is the maddest shout I've seen for a long time. So should we quickly go through them? Right, one, if he's going to leave at any point for whatever reason, it's not going to be to go to Old Trafford. He's going to go and play with his mate Jude in Madrid, or, you know, like he'll have his choice. There are plenty of people around the world, even if Southgate's not one of them, who rate Trent Alexander-Arnold and want them in his team.
I'm going to say this out loud now. If Trent Alexander-Arnold leaves Liverpool, he is going to play for Real Madrid. It's got like everything written on it, hasn't it? Like even you saying that, he gets to play with his mate Jude. He gets to play with Kylian Mbappe, whose celebration he did. Like, he gets to play for Real Madrid. And I know we're Liverpool fans and we rave about Liverpool and we're the greatest club in the world and all that, but there is no denying what Real Madrid are in the global game of football. Like, how many Champions Leagues have they won now?
I don't know.
14,
Loads of them didn't
50.
count though because they were black.
I know, but I used to trade off that, mate. Like, yeah. Well, the first ones didn't count, and then they just won about 10 in our lifetime. And I was like, I can't use that argument anymore. Fucking hell.
Like,
they'd still have more than us.
They were in financial trouble, and then they sold a shed for £1 billion.
Yeah, but that's what happens when you're the royal football team, isn't it?
But equally as well, he could go and ask. You know, like you could imagine him going and asking Steve McManaman. Like he's about, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like it'd be easy enough for him to have a conversation, say, "What was that like, Steve?" And if you've read Steve McManaman's book, you'll know he enjoyed it greatly.
He thought it was boss, yeah. Because guess what? He scored a goal in a Champions League final, and it was like,
and then got his mate Robbie over to sit on the bus with him and go round Madrid.
Did he?
Yeah, so he did that bit, yeah.
But go on, I interrupted you then.
I was just going to say, like, it just feels like, you know, Dwight Yorke's been in a DeLorean and gone back to a time when Man United were relevant, big, and a club that could swoop, pounce or anything else and take a player from Liverpool straight to Old Trafford. It's just not happening. What about the leaky roofed Premier League club is meant to be attractive to Trent right now?
But even in the DeLorean, like he starts that quote by saying, this could be another opportunity where, like, What do you mean another opportunity, Dwight? Like, who's ever gone direct from Liverpool to Man United? Isn't it one player in the history of the clubs in either direction? Like, it just doesn't happen. Another opportunity. That deal would be... Imagine trying to do that deal.
Remember, we tried to sign, what's her name, didn't we? Heinz.
He was popped into my head and it was like, you can't even get him.
Yeah.
They won't even let Heinz go from them to us.
Yeah, Phil Chisnell was the last player.
And have you heard Neville's...
1964.
I'm going to criticise Gary Neville in a bit. Watch out. Stay tuned for that. But did you hear he talked about Ferguson? And this made me laugh as well because we criticised Rodgers for getting Gerrard to do this. Do you remember when Rodgers was trying to get him to tap up Tony Kroos and that?
Yeah. Bell them superstars again, lad.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you imagined that the next day in training? Did you phone Tony Kroos or what? Yeah. I haven't had time yet, boss. But apparently Ferguson asked Gary Neville to do the same with Gerrard. During an England camp, it was like, any chance? And Gerrard said, like Neville said, Gerrard just laughed and went, mate, I wouldn't be alive to make the move. Like, I wouldn't get out of the city. It just can't happen. And Neville was like, yeah, fair enough. So same thing applies. Like, you're not getting one of our star players.
It's not happening. I also as well, and this is me segue from talking about Man United into talking about England. I really, really pray, hope, and like everything that Gareth Southgate ends up being their next manager. Because
I can see it happening as well. Because he's 100% going to leave the England job one way or another, isn't he? And I think what's going to happen is my prediction now. They've kept Ten Hag reluctantly.
Yeah.
They knew they couldn't get Southgate because of the time, and Southgate had to commit himself to England before the tournament. That meant they just had to leave Ten Hag in place. They had a chat with Tuchel. I think this is another theory behind the scenes. I'll do loads of Nostradamus theories that can't be proved one way or another. But I think Tuchel's thought, United's a fucking basket case, and I'd rather manage Liverpool. So I'm just going to hang on to see how Slot does, because you never know. Maybe I'll get a chance to manage Liverpool one day. But I think Ratcliffe, because Ratcliffe and Brailsford behind the scenes, apparently the stories where they really like Southgate, weren't they? Like, I think they've spoken to him in the past. They like the setup. You've got Dan Ashworth who likes him coming in. I think what's going to happen is Ten Hag will last a few months and get binned, and they'll bring in. This is the bit I pray, like you. We should all pray. Let's see if we can manifest it, like TLC manifest it. If I'm on board with you, if they announced him as their manager, I'd be having a street party.
Because he
I'll
will
get back
be
on the aisle.
He will be and can be their Roy Hodgson, because we are literally watching Roy Hodgson football coming from England right now. I might go a step further. Worse.
Is it? Can I say it? Like, and look, let me say this, and I'm going to say this for Gareth Southgate that I would never say about Roy Hodgson. I actually like Gareth Southgate as a fella. I think he's calm.
Some of the stuff he's done is quite good.
Stuff off the pitch has been really good. Like unifying the team again, making people want to play for England, getting the press behind them for years. He's got them to semi-finals and finals, which other people haven't done. I don't care how easy you think it is, if you're a dickhead watching England, to get a team to a final of a major tournament. It clearly isn't that easy, is it? Like, better managers than him with squads as good. When they rave off the squad, I'm like, I think people have short memories. When you look back at some of the squads England have had in our lifetime. So I think he has done loads of good stuff, and I think he's a nice fella. And watching him, I said to you before we started recording, I'm glad you put this on the agenda because I need to get stuff off my chest, and I didn't think I was that arsed. I'm watching him thinking, and I'd never think I'd say these words in my life. Do you know at least Roy Hodgson seemed to have a plan? Like, Roy Hodgson's footy was, there's a big fella up there, 4-4-2,
2 banks
play like we played in school. You're left back, you're right back, don't move from there. See the big fella up there, twat it up to him, he holds it up. If we can get Bobby Zamora in the team, we will. Like, literally try and turn Fernando Torres into Bobby Zamora, get him to hold it up, play off him. Now, that's shit, and it was fucking awful for any team, for most teams. It was awful for England, it was even worse for us. But at least when you watched them, you knew what you were doing. Gareth Southgate, I'm watching in this tournament going, sorry mate, I'm a bit lost. Like,
What are you doing?
You keep picking the same lads on the basis that they need to get to learn to play together. But isn't this your team that you've been evolving for years now? Don't they already know how to play together? Because to be honest, I haven't got a clue what you're trying to do.
No.
It's not a high pressing team. It's not a slick passing team. It's not a low block team. What is it?
Yeah.
Do you know?
No, and I don't know what Kane's doing. I don't know why he's coming so deep. If he comes deep, why aren't people running past him? Like, that's the Slovakia game. Like, they had a lad at fullback who was 37. And at no point did he seem to go, I know what we'll do. No way.
Got an idea. Do you know those fast lads we've got? Just get one of the fast lads to run at the old fella.
Gordon on the bench, yeah. He's quite fast, him, isn't he? And he's 37, him, yeah. Maybe we could... Maybe. And the first half was absolutely shit. Like, it was terrible. It was, even by their own standards, that low standards that they've set in this tournament, it was like another level of shit. And then they come out second half and it's the same team again. And I was like, why? Look at your bench. There's loads of options there. Loads of things you can do. And your answer is nothing. And like how it was presented afterwards was like just fucking burnt my head out, do you know what I mean? Harry Kane saying, oh yeah, we've practiced long throws, like, so it come off and all that. Lad, it was the 95th minute. And like,
we've practiced long throws.
Yeah, he's almost trying to say that was the plan.
Yeah.
And it's like...
What we thought was we'd leave it till the 95th minute, we'd do a long throw and Jude Bellingham scored an overhead kick. You're like, but this the bit I actually sent you a message, and this is the bit I wanted to, and they ended up scoring. So it's a perfect example to me about how you shouldn't judge anything on outcomes, whether they go well or not, because the plan was shit. And if the plan's shit most of the time, over the long term, you're going to lose. When he went to bring on, well, he did bring on Ivan Toney with 2 minutes left. I was in my own house, like, not actually asked whether they were scored or not, but going, are you fucking messing? That was one of those decisions, because I can picture it being Liverpool, and picture, the England fans are way less tolerant than Liverpool fans. Like, they're literally booing their own team. You've had all these lads on your bench. You've picked the squad. Your team's been shit for 4 games, including the first half of this game, which was the one you said, we're going to get them now. You went shit again. You made no changes at half time, and you've waited till the 2 minutes from the end to bring on a new striker. Are you fucking taking the piss? Can you imagine the reaction to that if they hadn't scored and won? Like, that would get you, with England, effigies burning in the street.
Yeah.
Because in fairness to everybody,
it would have been some
you're
kind
the
of
only
vegetable
person
on the back of a tabloid or whatever.
But in fairness, not that I think that's fine for anyone to be treated like that, but in fairness to all the people who like England and want them to win, how is that the decision to make? How is that decision not being made half an hour earlier?
I know.
How was Anthony Gordon not got on the pitch? How is the same team playing week in, week out, game after game? It's just... But look, I want to say my Gary Neville criticism, because I think this is where it's gone wrong in this tournament for Southgate, and it's mad. And Gary Neville somehow has got lost in it and is doing the same thing. If you listen to Neville talk about, and even you listen to Gerrard and Lampard and all them talk about their generation and why it went wrong, it was because England always just try and pick their best players and make it work. I literally heard Neville the other week say, when you think about it, centre midfield for England in that era should have been Michael Carrick with one other. They should have just left out one of the big names, because you couldn't play them all together, and we always tried to, and it never worked because there was no balance. And yet Gary Neville in this tournament, time and again, is going, you can't leave out Trent, you can't leave out Kane, you can't leave out Bellingham, you can't leave out Foden. And you're like, yeah, that's your problem, mate. Like, you're playing Foden and Bellingham and Kane. None of them are playing well. They're all in each other's way. None of them are playing how they play for their clubs. So you've got to change. You've got to leave someone out, haven't you? You can't play. If it was me, I'd be like, well, you've got to pick Bellingham or Foden and keep one of them on the bench. Rotate them. Keep them fresh. They all look knackered.
Yeah.
But no, no, we've gone back to Gerrard and Lampard and Scholes and Beckham. They've all got to play in the same team, and we don't know how to do it. So we'll just say, get on with it and see if you can figure it out.
Yeah.
And guess what? They can't.
They can't, and it's boring, it's crap, and it's absolutely fucking dire.
And we get, do you know what we get back to as well? See, you can tell I needed to let off some steam. Do you know what we get back to? This always happens. It always comes back to the players need to sort this out for themselves. Do you know, the manager can't be expected to sort everything. And you're like, sorry, fellas, that's bullshit. Think about who these players play for. Half of these players have been playing for Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp. And you think they should now just sort it out for themselves to get at international level to win a tournament? Are you messing? That is absolutely insane. Like, surely you should expect your manager to sort it out, because that's what he's getting paid to do. And come up with
something a bit better than what, it's just wild, isn't it? I mean, to be fair, most of the media reports are read and things I've heard and all that. They're not sort of sugarcoating it, to be fair. They're saying it was terrible, it was bad. I did hear one really odd report on the radio where it was going on about, but if he'd have taken off Kane and he'd taken off Bellingham, well, they're the 2 goals. So and I was like, oh, fuck off with that. Because that's just absolutely crap. There's so much fortune in the fact that they've got through, isn't there? The goal for Kane comes from Eze spooning a shot. He's not playing a ball to Tony. He's spooning a shot that happens to fall for him.
Look at every goal they've scored in the tournament. Even the first goal they scored, it came from a deflected cross. Yeah. None of it has been...
shot on target for 95 minutes.
I only saw 5 minutes of the Spain-Georgia game, right? I turned it on. Spain were losing 1-0. The first thing the commentator said was, Spain look like they're going to score with every attack.
They were great, yeah.
And I was like, I don't need to watch this game. Spain will win. Why? Because they're playing. Georgia have obviously scored on the break. They've got a boss fella up front. Good, fair play to them. Trying the heart out. But Spain will be playing like we play, or like Arsenal play, or like City play, and they'll just wear them down and beat them. You can't say that about England. They're not creating chances. They're not playing football. It's just wild to me.
It just feels like everyone's searching for something to say. A reason why why it's good, or I heard Henry Winter saying it's like when David Platt scored that goal. That's what this moment reminds me of, and all this, and England obviously went on in that tournament and they get to the semis, don't they? In that, and it's it's nothing like that, mate. To be honest with you, it's been 4 turgid, awful games. The latest one was the worst one, I would say, as well. Do you know what I mean?
It's not getting better, is it?
No, it's just, like I said, it's just so much about it, isn't there? No shots on target for 95 minutes. Slovakia ranked 45th in the FIFA rankings, sandwiched between Algeria and Norway. England are meant to be 5th as tournament favourites. You get Switzerland next, they're 19th in the world according to FIFA. Holland, who will likely play, you would imagine, if you look at the draw, they're 7th. But yeah, it's just so it just does me head in it. And when we sit here and we go through a Liverpool match, we go through the stats, don't we? And we'll say, well, Slovakia have had more shots on target. They had a better XG. Slovakia, they're not as good as Switzerland. Slovakia are nowhere near as good as Switzerland. And Slovakia were a minute away from kicking England out of the tournament.
Well, even that, right? Once England went 2-1 up, what did they do again? That they've done in every game, and even in games before the tournament started, they just defended. They just reverted to, okay, let's just hold this. And they nearly gave a goal away. You've put it in here. There's a lad put one over the bar from 5 yards out.
Very lucky that he didn't score that.
But that's because they retreated again. Yeah. This is why there's loads of this I don't get. You've put it in here to talk about, but the Bellingham reaction to that goal. I think I didn't see the post-match reaction with I wanted to see what Roy Keane had to say, because I can imagine Roy Keane saying, and someone will say to me, he didn't say that, but if that's at club level, you don't celebrate that goal by telling everyone to fuck off because shove it down your throats and all that. You go, we got away with one there, lads. Yeah. Let's get off the pitch, keep our heads down, and work harder. It's one of the bits I'm really surprised with. And we talked about this months ago about I'm amazed that there aren't more psychologists, coaches, therapists, whatever, involved at the highest level of sport. And I'm honestly, it's something I want to do in my life. Like, if someone's out there who's a amateur sports person or something and wants some help with this stuff, I genuinely think this work can just change how you are as a sports person. Because the fact that this is affecting them, criticism from outside is affecting them, is mad.
Yeah, I can't get my head around it. It's like
it should just be water off a duck's back.
But it's like a debate week after week, and it's like, lad, 4 matches, all being crap.
Yeah.
So, you're lucky, very, very lucky to be where you are. And it's absolutely fair enough that people say that. That isn't out of order. That isn't a pile-on. That isn't someone targeting you and you're a victim. That is, you've played shit. Yeah. And people are saying, they've played shit.
Yeah. And did you hear Harry Kane a week ago? And I saw the BBC talk about it, in fairness to them. Like Shearer and Lineker, because Kane referenced ex-pros. And Lineker made a point which I thought was quite funny. He said, the thing is with these questions and these answers in press conferences, he said, these journalists will quote people like us and say, Lineker said this and Shearer said this. What do you think? Because they haven't got the balls to say to the player's face, I think this. So they'll use us, and then that creates a bit of a debate and a headline. But Kane's response was basically, these players should know what it's like playing for England, and it would do better. They'd be better like cheering us on positively than criticising us. And I was listening to him thinking, in my lifetime watching England from a bit of a distance, if you think this is criticism, not like Kane is old enough, maybe Bellingham isn't old enough. Instead of showing them clips, did you hear Southgate's post-match press conference? I watched it today just to hear what he had to say. He said they've been showing them stuff from the '66 World Cup because tournament footy, and apparently the group stage was shit then, and Jeff Hurst didn't get in the team until the quarterfinals, and I didn't know any of this stuff. But even that, I'm thinking, well, okay, you're going to drop Harry Kane now and start playing Ivan Toney or Holly Watkins, because it doesn't sound like that, mate. But even if that's the case, right, stop showing them that and start showing them the abuse England teams used to get, because this isn't abuse. This is what you just said. This is very calm, rational analysis that I can. And this is from people who aren't England fans, and I'm defending the pundits. Like, to me, it just looks like calm, rational, reasonable analysis. You haven't played well, lads. We don't know what's going on.
It's not working. Systematically, it looks a mess.
And individually, none of you are performing. And in fairness, like a bit of defence of Southgate, maybe Southgate is there going, well, I've played this system for ages and we used to be good. You're just not pulling your weight. But if that's the case, you need to change the players, mate, because they all look goose to me and they don't know what they're doing. Yeah. But that was my thing. Like the whole mad celebrations, like giving it to the crowd and all that. I've got nothing against the Bellingham, Gerrard, like who else type thing. Like, do you remember when Gerrard did the pointing his name on his back and all that? I'm all right with that if you're carrying a team on your shoulders, which is what Gerrard used to do. You're not, mate. Sorry.
No. You scored an overhead.
You scored
kick,
a goal, which is great,
goal.
But you were shit. You wouldn't have, if it was me with the manager, you wouldn't have been on the pitch.
No.
Because I don't care. Southgate made that same point. Yeah, Kane and Bellingham scored the goals, and people said you should take them off. And you're like, yeah, but if you'd take them off half an hour before, mate, maybe you'd have won 3-1 because you'd have brought on players who were fucking better than them in that game.
Yeah, I mean, all of that, I didn't get that, to be honest with you. And he's, potentially in trouble now for, the grabbing his bollock stuff. And then he's put, but like in the press conference, I think with him, Bellingham, he speaks well, he looks good, he plays footy well and all that kind of stuff. You forget that he's only 21. And I think this shows that he's 21. Because you can't sit in a press conference after that and have a pop as though you've played well when you haven't. You've been highly fortunate to beat a team you should be beaten easily. A team that isn't a world superpower or anything like that. A team that isn't tipped to win the tournament or anything like that. So, don't prance around saying you're giving something back and all that. What are you giving back, mate? You've flukily beaten Slovakia. Like you say, get your head down, get onto, maybe even, admit that and just say, hopefully this is now a turning point. We've won the game. We're into the next round. This was the aim all along. Obviously, we wish we'd played better. Blah, blah. You haven't given anything back. play well and then you give something back. You scored a good goal in a moment, and that was great. And probably only you on the pitch was capable of doing it. Sam, like you say, you haven't given anything back. When you look at the subs as well, it's like, 66 minutes till he brings Cole Palmer on, and it'd been absolutely shit up to that moment. Next sub is Eze, 84 minutes. They're getting beat at that point, obviously. Tony, we mentioned already, 90th minute, and then Konza and Conor Gallagher, 106, because he's shutting up shop and taking 2-1. It's fucking wild. But they do remain favourites to win the whole thing. So, I guess the question is, can they basically be boring as fuck and a bit shit and win it?
I think this is the thing, and we need to say this out loud, because otherwise people will come back in 2 weeks, whatever it is, and say we were knobheads like everybody else was, criticising them. But look at the draw. It's mad. And I saw Ferdinand saying this before the Slovakia game, and now they've got through even though they were shit. If you're England, if I'm Gareth Southgate, if I'm one of those players, I'm like, we've got to win 3 ties here. 3 one-off knockout ties to win the first English trophy since 1966, to be legends. Our next game is against Switzerland. As you say, the quarter-final, the semi-final, if we get through, is likely
Holland,
could be Holland, but even then, Holland have been shit. So it's going to be one of Romania, Holland, Austria, or Turkey in the semis. So if the best of them is Holland, they've not been great. So
Switzerland will be all right, though.
Well, Switzerland knocked out Italy, and this is the point. If we're playing Italy in the next round, everyone will be like, oh. But on paper, as a draw, and I saw someone making this point, actually, which was interesting on, a TikTok.
The power cube as well.
Yeah, well, and have you seen his stat? I saw someone
say this only touched the goal or something?
No, I don't know about that, but it's sort of like, I think it's other than Ronaldo, he's the only player to have scored in the last, 6 tournaments or something.
Yeah,
so just on that, you'd be like, oh my God, who is this lad? You're like, well, I watch him every week, and you might question. But I love Shaqiri. But if on paper, sorry, I'm jumping around everywhere. The point I saw someone make was, if you look at who Southgate has played in major tournaments, the teams we've come up against, or maybe just in his tenure, we've played I don't know, I can't remember the actual stat, but it's something like we've played something like 24 teams in the top 20 of the world rankings, and we've won 6 of those games. It's a small percentage. And actually, I think for England fans, they may look back on Southgate's tenure thinking, what a wasted opportunity, because the best thing he got in the whole time he was England's manager was unbelievably lucky draws. If you look at them getting to the semis of the World Cup and the final of the Euros, that's the way round it was, wasn't it? Semis and final, yeah. They didn't beat anyone. Didn't beat anyone good. As soon as they came up against the good side, they got beat. And it's the same here. It's like, lads, if you're not looking at this as a team going, this is the greatest opportunity we'll ever have to win a tournament with this draw, with these teams left.
But you've got a conservative manager in charge of so that's sound. But then like he says, doesn't he, publicly, Tony had a cob on that I'm bringing him on 91 minutes or whatever. Well, he's gonna have me because why haven't you brought him on before that? You're about to go out of a major tournament with a whimper, and it's only through sheer fucking fortune that you didn't. So he's right. So if one of your players has got a cob on with you, what does that say to you, mate? It's mad how conservative he is. It's mad how his philosophy is a negative one, isn't it?
Do you think someone mentioned this, and I was wondering whether this is an issue? Do you think, because they all apparently back him and all that, the noises are positive,
him, yeah.
But do you think there's an element of players sitting there like Foden, Bellingham, Trent, players who played for top managers, sitting there listening to him thinking, this is shit, and that has a knock-on effect because of that?
Who knows? I mean, people. You guarded against the last time we had one of these on the show. I think people picked up on a little moment that they saw and then read into it. There was that one with Nunez, wasn't there, where he didn't look particularly receptive towards Klopp or whatever, and he was like, it's a moment. But there was one of those moments where you saw Gomez and Trent, and they didn't look arsed.
Yeah. Bellingham and Kane are like headbutting each other and like grabbing each other's bollocks and that, and Trent and Gomez are like,
just like
brilliant.
Sound.
This is it.
Or like, Sweet Caroline, shite.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny about that though? Like, I can imagine there's an element of them going, why are you celebrating this, lads? We've just luckily beat Slovakia. Keep your heads down.
There was obviously some beef had gone on, wasn't there? Because, like, what's he called? Completely forgot his name. Rice called the manager a bald cunt, which is really
great.
good, to be fair.
Which is great, yeah.
Enjoyed that. So and there was some talk of like, shithousery as well. I think Jonathan Northcroft in the Times literally used the phrase, said like Slovakia complained about England's shithousery, and I was really made up that shithousery was there in the Times.
Yeah.
So more of that type of thing. What I wanted to ask you about though was Jude Bellingham's Instagram post as well, which again I just thought was like really oddly timed, and I was struggling to see what the point was really. So he lashed up a quote from Theodore Roosevelt, headline "The Man in the Arena." And for those that didn't see it said, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done better. The credit belongs to the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." Well, there's fucking none of that, was there? So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. So it's a great quote. And we talked about a very similar one on shows years ago. Who's the other one who's done that? Thingy O'Brien.
I was just going to say, no, it's that one.
Is it the same one?
Yeah. So it's Brené Brown. I first heard this from years ago, and she actually wrote. She ended up writing a book called Daring Greatly.
Yeah.
So it's about that. It's about like, don't listen to people who are fucking criticising
you
when you're in the arena. And I get that, but
the lads who have been criticising them have been in the arena, and some of them.
And also the bit you rightly said it, and it's in capitals in the quote he put in his Instagram quote.
Daring greatly.
At least fails while daring greatly. You're not, mate.
You're not.
Yeah, like not just sorry, and don't just mean Southgate in this. You personally are not daring greatly. You're not playing at the level you are capable of playing at. You're not doing a Steven Gerrard. You're not picking up the ball and driving forward and doing your best and picking up the team. And all the caveats, you're 21. I get it. But don't come out with all this fucking...
I know.
And the thing is as well,
time,
you're having a go at your own fans.
Yeah.
What are they going to do if they win? Fucking grab the bollocks and put two fingers up to the crowd then? Like, don't play for England then.
Yeah. Really.
This is what it is. This is the game.
Really odd. Someone in the comments mentioned about the audio, so if anyone else thinks there's an issue with the audio, let us know, but it might just be one person. It's not something we've picked up on before, but if people think there's an issue with it, let us know and we'll try and do something about it. Someone said to me, and then I spotted some bits on Twitter as well, so we'll just throw a little chat in about this. Won't make a big massive deal about it, but I actually got copied into a tweet that said, "I'm seeing lots of Jurgen Klopp for England manager after the way everyone treated them in England and in the Premier League. They've got a fucking cheek." That was Matthew Maloney. But when I was on a big walk over the weekend, the lad I was with said that he'd heard from X, Y, and Z, like that. Basically, that there was some credibility to this idea. Now, I can understand it from the FA's point of view that they would want Klopp as England manager. Well, he's one of the best managers in the world, so sound. But why the fuck would Jurgen Klopp want to go and do that job when he's got the choice of any job? And, he could be a pundit. It's not just being a manager. There's all kinds of opportunity for him in the world, you would imagine, right now. Why would he want that? You got Blair, jumping around bevy, singing about 10 German bombers or whatever. And I'm sure it that's come across his, he's seen it. Why would he go and manage? Like, why England? I just don't get where that's coming from, or why someone somewhere thinks it's credible. Because surely you'd just be like, are you having a laugh?
Well, in fairness, I said it a few weeks ago, didn't I? Like, I think the FA, if I was working for the FA, I think they would be negligent to not at least try. But I think that for any top club or any top nation in the world, right, you should be now, like we did. Everybody should be like, how serious are you about this break, mate? Now that you've had a few weeks off in Mallorca and you've watched a bit of tennis, you're looking fresh, got a nice tan, you're ready to get back in the game. So I think they would be negligent not to sound him out. And of course, like if I was an England fan, why wouldn't you want Jurgen Klopp as your manager? He's currently the greatest manager in the world available. And I'm with you. Like, even forgetting everything else, there's that bit of a twist, fellas, isn't there? You keep singing songs about beating Germany in the war. Might not go down well if you had a German manager. So have a think about that before. It's just, as you say, like, and it's funny, isn't it? Because it goes beyond footy. We've said this before. Like, he could say to John Henry, you got any jobs in the rest of your hedge fund portfolio that'd be nice for me? And Henry would be like, yeah, you think you're getting paid, you think you get paid a lot as a football manager? You can be CEO of this business we own over here, pay you 20 million quid a year. Oh, yeah, all right, I'd have a pop at that, be a bit different, wouldn't it? What are the hours? Well, better than you get your weekends off for a start. Oh, sound, yeah. 2 weeks holiday a year.
You can just do whatever media you want to do every now and again. You can ignore emails. And if you fuck up, just put just put a shitty little body warmer on and a check shirt and sit in front of a camera and say, sorry, you won't do that again. That's what John's done, isn't it? Okay, anyway, I think here we are time up for the free show. We didn't get onto elections, which was on the list for the free show, but we'll talk a little bit about elections in the paid for show. Nothing too heavy, don't worry about that. We are also going to talk about what else is on the agenda for the paid for show, subscriber show. We're going to talk some us stuff, so I've got a list of us stuff and see where we go with that, and then I'm going to do one of those mental health moments that I've tried to introduce now and again into the shows as well. So if you fancy the idea of that and you want to go over and get involved with that, you can jump onto Patreon, sign up. You can sign up for a free trial if you don't want to pay this time around, but ultimately the idea is, of course, that you do pay, and that helps us keep the whole thing going. You can actually watch the Patreon show live. So there'll be a link dropped into Patreon shortly, not straight away. We need a wee and a cup of tea and all that kind of stuff. And then you'll be able to watch live, or you can watch at your leisure, or you can listen to it as a podcast, all of those kind of things, the usual. And we'll leave it there for this week. So thank you to all the people who watched live. Thank you to all the people who commented. Love reading those as ever, and everyone was pretty sound this week as well, which was nice. We will be back next week with another free late challenge show, and do let us know if there's anyone out there who is going to watch. What did I say at the start? It was it 5.5 days you can now
5
watch
days, yeah.
because we've done that much content now. That was it. It was you can do 5.5 days solid of late challenge output. So there's not going to be anyone who does that, and if you do,
there are plenty of people who message us saying they're new subscribers and they're working their way back.
Oh yeah, well you see it as well, don't you? On the Patreon, like we get comments on like really old shows, and they're only just watching it now, and it's boss. I love all that. So obviously, if you get access to Patreon, not only can you watch this week's show, you can watch all the old ones as well, and they're on all different subjects. Loads of them are fairly, non-time sensitive as well, ranging from mental health to work to footy to whatever you want. Anyway, I'll stop waffling. I need a brew. I need to go to the bog. Hope you enjoyed the show. See you next week.